Welcome to our episode of Defense Briefing, where we dive into the whirlwind world of global politics, military maneuvers, and those unexpected moments that leave us all a bit wide-eyed. Today we're wrapping our heads around a series of events that feel more like a plot from a high-stakes political thriller than the evening news. So, let's get into it, shall we? First off, we're jetting over to the Middle East sites, where tensions are as hot as the desert sun. Israel decided to throw a surprise party in Syria, targeting an Iranian site right next to the Iranian embassy in Damascus. And guess who got to send you an invite? This move has got folks at the Pentagon playing catch-up and has Iran talking about payback. It's like watching a chess game, where every move could tip the scales in an already volatile region. Meanwhile, down under in Australia, there's some drama of a different kind. The Australian War Memorial is getting a facelift to the tune of $540 million. But it seems like not everyone's playing by the rules. The Australian Auditor-general's report is waving red flags about dodgy dealings and a lack of oversight. It's like a soap opera, but with more bureaucrats and less romance. Switching gears, we're heading to a power trio meeting at the White House, starring the U.S., Japan, and the Philippines. They're banding together in the face of China's bold moves in the South China Sea, proving that when it comes to geopolitics, there's strength in numbers. It's a tale of alliances, democracy, and a shared love for the rule of law, making it clear that the world stage is no place for lone wolves. Each of these stories, from strategic strikes and project mismanagement to forging new alliances, paints a vivid picture of a world where the only constant is change. And as we navigate through these complex narratives, it's clear that every action has a reaction, often felt far beyond its immediate sphere. So as we wrap up today's briefing, remember that the world of international relations and military strategy is a puzzle that's always evolving, with each piece influencing the next in ways we can sometimes only guess at. Thanks for joining us on this whirlwind tour of global hotspots and strategic moves. Please stay tuned for more detailed coverage on each of these intriguing developments. In a world that seems to be growing smaller by the day, the complexities of international relations and military strategies continue to unfold in ways that are both intriguing and concerning. From the Middle East to the Pacific, nations are navigating a labyrinth of alliances, strategic interests, and diplomatic tensions that underscore the delicate balance of power in the global arena. In a recent development that has raised eyebrows and frustrations within the Pentagon, Israel conducted a strike on an Iranian site in Syria without prior notification to the United States. As reported by the Washington Post, this strike, which took place on April 1, targeted a building adjacent to the Iranian embassy in Damascus, resulting in the death of two senior commanders from the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. This move by Israel, seen as an escalation, has not only increased risks to American forces in the Middle East but has also prompted Iran to vow retaliation. The tension is palpable as U.S. and Israeli officials scramble to coordinate a response to an anticipated Iranian counterstrike, highlighting the complexities of relationships and strategic decisions in the region. Meanwhile, on a different front, the Australian Broadcasting Corporation has brought to light issues surrounding the management of the $540 million upgrade of the Australian War Memorial. The Australian Auditor-general's report criticized the project for avoiding ministerial oversight and failing to properly manage conflicts of interest. Instances were found where steps were taken to circumvent seeking ministerial approval for contracts, raising concerns about the transparency and efficacy of the project's management. This scenario underscores the challenges and intricacies involved in managing large-scale national projects, especially those with significant historical and cultural implications. On a broader geopolitical scale, Nikkei Asia reported on the first-ever trilateral summit held among the U.S., Japan, and the Philippines at the White House. This meeting, heralded as the beginning of many more to come, represents a strategic alignment among nations that share a commitment to democracy, good governance, and the rule of law. This trilateral cooperation is seen as a crucial step in bolstering a free and open international order amidst rising tensions in the South China Sea. China's aggressive maneuvers in the region, including the shooting of water cannons at Philippine supply ships, have only served to solidify alliances among these nations, pushing the Philippines closer to the Western camp. This summit, and the partnerships it seeks to strengthen, is a testament to the evolving nature of international relations and the importance of multilateral cooperation in addressing global challenges. Each of these developments, from the Middle East to the Pacific, encapsulates the myriad challenges and opportunities that define our current geopolitical landscape, whether it's the delicate dance of military strikes and counterstrikes in Syria, the scrutiny of national memorial projects in Australia, or the forging of new alliances in response to regional tensions. These events highlight the interconnectedness of our world. They remind us that in an era of global interdependence, the actions of one nation can have far-reaching implications, underscoring the importance of diplomacy, strategic planning, and international cooperation in navigating the complex web of global relations. In a world teeming with crises, the United States has cast a spotlight on the dire situation in Sudan, urging the global community to rally support and address the escalating conflict that has gripped the nation. According to Deutsche Welle, the U.S. ambassador to the UN, Linda Thomas-Greenfield, highlighted the alarming reality that only a minuscule 5% of the UN's humanitarian appeal for Sudan had been met, with the Sudanese military reportedly receiving arms from Iran. The EU is not only increasing its funding but also pressing for international intervention to prevent further fueling of the war. The call to action extends beyond financial aid. As the U.S. Special Envoy to Sudan, Tom Perriello advocates for the momentum from an international humanitarian conference to pave the way for new talks between the warring factions. This plea for heightened global engagement in Sudan mirrors a broader shift in the Biden administration's foreign policy doctrine, as outlined by foreign policy, eschewing the traditional reliance on large multilateral institutions like the UN and WTO. The administration is championing a multilateral approach. This strategy focuses on forming smaller, more agile coalitions of countries united by common interests to tackle specific global challenges, from imposing economic sanctions on Russia via the G7 to establishing new frameworks for military aid to Ukraine. This doctrine of coalitions of the willing signifies a significant pivot from previous U.S. foreign policy. Even in Asia, the administration employs this tactic, leveraging smaller groupings such as the Quad and various trilateral initiatives to counteract China's burgeoning influence. However, this pivot raises questions about the future efficacy and inclusivity of such an approach. While the Biden administration is convinced that the post-World War I international system is ill-suited for contemporary challenges, evidenced by its circumvention of the UN in addressing issues like Russia's war in Ukraine and conflicts in the Middle East, the strategy's success in geopolitically restraining China remains uncertain. Critics argue that this approach might undermine established institutions and appear exclusionary, yet the administration sees it as a necessary evolution in navigating the impasses that have plagued major institutions. Parallel to these geopolitical maneuvers, a humanitarian crisis of staggering proportions unfolds in Gaza. As reported by the NY Times, 6 months into the Israel-Hamas war, the United Nations warns that the people of Gaza are teetering on the brink of famine. The crisis is a culmination of Israel's stringent blockade, exacerbated by a siege that has choked off commercial imports of food and decimated Gaza's infrastructure through bombardment. The pre-war blockade already severely restricted humanitarian aid and commercial imports, but the situation has deteriorated drastically following Hamas's attack on Israel. With the territory's port destroyed and its population displaced, families in Gaza face insurmountable challenges in securing basic sustenance. These unfolding crises in Sudan and Gaza, set against the backdrop of the Biden administration's strategic pivot in foreign policy, underscore a world at a crossroads. As the U.S. urges greater international engagement in Sudan and navigates the complexities of global diplomacy through unilaterals, the humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza serves as a grim reminder of the immediate and tangible impacts of geopolitical strife on human lives. Together, these narratives paint a picture of a global community grappling with how best to address the multifaceted challenges of our time at Thailand. From war and conflict to famine and geopolitical rivalry, the path forward demands not only innovative approaches to diplomacy and international cooperation, but also a renewed commitment to humanitarianism and the protection of the most vulnerable. In the heart of Ukraine, amidst the turmoil and the echoing sounds of conflict, a new mobilization bill has stirred both hope and controversy. According to CBC, Ukrainian opposition MP Ina Sosan has found herself at the center of this storm. abstaining from voting on a legislation designed to bolster the ranks of the nation's military. The bill, teeming with incentives for enlistees and penalties for those dodging service, conspicuously lacks a provision that Olson deems crucial. The allowance for soldiers to return home after 36 months of relentless combat. Olson's personal connection to the front lines, with her partner serving for 2 years, fuels her advocacy for reprieve for the weary troops, despite her support for mobilization. Olson argues for a more compassionate approach, emphasizing the need to acknowledge the sacrifices of soldiers and their families. As Ukraine awaits President Volodymyr Zelensky's signature for the bill to become law, the nation grapples with the challenge of replenishing its forces while preserving unity within its borders. Meanwhile, in a captivating blend of history and art, the South China Morning Post reports a remarkable discovery in the ancient Roman city of Pompeii. A dining hall adorned with 200-year-old frescoes inspired by the Trojan War has been unearthed, revealing the opulence and cultural richness of a bygone era. The hall, believed to have hosted lavish banquets, showcases exquisite paintings depicting iconic figures from Greek mythology, such as Paris and Helen and the tragic prophetess Cassandra entwined with god Apollo. The meticulous choice of black paint on the walls, aimed at concealing the soot from oil lamps, underscores the sophistication of Roman aesthetics. This discovery, part of a €105 million European Union-funded project, not only enriches our understanding of ancient Roman life, but also underscores the enduring allure of classical mythology. In a leap from the ancient to the futuristic, Yahoo US brings news from CinemaCon, where Disney unveiled 13 minutes of footage from the highly anticipated Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. This latest installment in the science fiction saga is set generations after the events of 2017's War for the Planet of the Apes, charting a new course for the franchises. The preview captivated audiences with scenes of a fiery nighttime raid in gravity-defying cliff jumping, signaling an action-packed adventure. At the heart of the narrative is young chimp Noah, whose journey begins in the aftermath of his village's destruction. This reboot promises to delve deeper into the post-apocalyptic world where apes and humans vie for dominance, offering a fresh perspective on the enduring conflict. The juxtaposition of these stories, from the pressing concerns of a nation at war, through the rediscovery of ancient splendors, to the imaginative leaps of science fiction, paints a vivid tapestry of human endeavor. Each narrative, whether rooted in the grim realities of conflict, the pursuit of historical understanding, or the boundless realms of fantasy, reflects the diverse facets of our shared experience. They remind us of the resilience and creativity that define us, the struggles we endure, and the dreams we dare to chase, across time and beyond the confines of our world. Antony Blinken calls on China and others to curb Iran's aggression towards Israel. In a vibrant plea for international cooperation, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has reached out to China and various global players, urging them to wield their influence to deter Iran from launching attacks on Israel. In a series of crucial conversations with his counterparts from China, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Europe, Blinken emphasized the critical need to prevent any escalation of tensions. He also connected with Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, offering a robust show of support for Israel amidst looming threats from Iran. The United States has not shied away from cautioning Iran against its menacing posture towards Israel. In a significant move, U.S. Commander for the Middle East, General Eric Kurilla, is on the ground in Israel, engaging in discussions regarding the security challenges that loom over the region. Amidst these turbulent times, President Joe Biden has stood firm, reiterating the unwavering commitment of the United States to ensuring the safety and security of Israel. This steadfast support comes even as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu faces critique over his approach to the conflict in Gaza. The call to action has extended to China, with the U.S. advocating for a more proactive role from Beijing in addressing the ongoing crisis in the Middle East. However, this appeal has been met with resistance, as China accuses the U.S. of harboring a biased stance in favor of Israel. As the international community watches on, the plea from Antony Blinken underscores the urgency of collaborative efforts to maintain peace and stability in a region fraught with tension. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6DO team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 60 Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 60 team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 60 Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website. 60 Brief, regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 60 Brief via email.